Okay, so this is our MyFuWu application, and the application start with our main.dart, and then goes to splash page, and then the splash page basically contain the standard um, widget tree or widget list for splash screen, and then with a feature delay set to 3 seconds, navigate to main screen, main page, which is handled through main page dot here. And within the main page, we have one floating action button for now. And the floating action button navigate when user click or press on the button itself, it goes to the register screen, and from the register screen, we have our registration form, which lists down all the widget tree for the form with a text field, for email, for password, for re-enter password or confirm password. And then we have buttons to register user. But started with a dialog window first, which is implemented through the alert show dialog widget here. But before the registration can go through, so we set up a gatekeeper first, just to check our data, making sure that we have all the necessary data before we proceed. So this is data sanitation, and definitely there are more for the data sanitation, and these are the some of the sanitation gate that I used. Um, and definitely you can implement for password rules using reject, okay, the regular expression method that you can use to make sure that user email follows certain expression. Okay, so regular expression being used a lot in many applications, and the reject, you can set up your own rules for the reject, just to make sure that the data that user enter follows certain format. Um, and then if all the gatekeeper pass through, all the if statement block pass through, then finally we show the alert dialog. And for the alert dialog here is just a simple alert dialog with title, register this account, and there are two action button within the show dialog, which is either to finally register user information, which we pass to another um, helper function or method with register user, and then we pass to which is email and password that we have verified. And then the other one is another text button that will cancel the show dialog, which use navigator.pop. The navigator.pop means that it will pop the current context UI, which is the show dialog. And it's just a simple navigator.pop. So as you can see here, the on-press implementation, I put it directly into the show dialog because this is just a short instruction. But um, with the longer one, I just pass to another helper function method. And for the second text button here, you have your navigator pop contact is just only one instruction. So you can just use a direct on press instruction, which just to execute only one, which is navigator.pop, right? The rest at the bottom down here, this is basically where we're going to use this a lot. Um, and the register user functions here will receive email and password as string and use what we call as an HTTP dependencies library. And the dependencies library here will request or will send requests to our XAMPP server, which is I already described from our first video, and pass two data here, which is email and password through the post body. And then wait for response. If the response comes in, this is basically just for me to print out what the response are. And definitely for the URI parse string here, this path you have to always check when you move from one network to the other, because sometimes, most of the time, the IP address and the path to your API will change definitely. And definitely you need to fire up your XAMPP. In this case, I use a simple XAMPP stack. I'm not quite sure which version that I'm running. This is 3.3.0. I'm not quite sure if the latest one, since this is a 2021 version, it's quite old version. And you need to start both of the stack services, Apache and MySQL. So make sure that both turn green and it run on the default port 80443 for Apache, which is run PHP, and 3306 later on for MySQL. This is the port number for MySQL, which is communicate internally between Apache and MySQL. But sometimes you might have issue if you already have any previous Apache installation or XAMPP installation that you uninstall, or if you have any other Node.js services running in the background, you have to make sure that those services shut down and only run this service because they share port number, application port number. Okay, so once you get them running, the first thing that you need to check is the IP address of your current device. So for example, like mine at the moment at UUM, I am running the following IP address. You have to check your IP address, and this is my current IP address. And this might change from time to time because they use, this is not fixed IP address. This is dynamic IP address. They might change. So my current IP address is the following, and make sure you copy them. And then you just replace the IP address that you have here. And this is my home IP address, and this is my new IP address. All right, so just to make sure that you have your XAMPP service running, you can try, you can just take this away. You can test the IP and then press enter. You should have, or you should be able to view your XAMPP dashboard. If you are not able to view your dashboard, means that your Apache is not running and you have problems with your network. And if you try within UEM with two or separate machine, computer, one as a server and the other one as your development, you might encounter error because sometimes the UEM network, they don't allow for the for two computers to communicate with the even within the same network. So just aware of that. Right, so it means that the server is running and it's working, and even if you want to check your MySQL, you just go for the PHP MyAdmin and it works. All right? All right, so And then you just go back to your MyFuWu folder. This is your application folder, which is under directory of XAMPP, htdoc, and MyFuWu. So this is the application directory, and this is and then I further subdivided into two subfolder, which is the API itself and asset later on if there's any. All right, so all your backend PHP script will be hosted here, and at the moment, I only have the following PHP script, which basically translated into get the post data submitted from the application, and then format the data into array, and then encode the data and return back the data to client, which just we just encode them back using JSON encoder, which is the data array that we have formed here based on the information given by the application. All right, so let me turn on, let me run my Pixel first and get it running. Right, so compile, run, and let us see the result. Okay, so your output at the bottom down here, if you didn't see any output, you have to check your other options here, filter here, and make sure. I'm not quite sure why they set to task. Usually you have to select your application itself, which is your, where is it at? What's the application mean? This is false Flutter daemon, not Flutter daemon. This is out. Oh, yeah, sorry, debug console here. Debug console is supposed to be down here, and I did print out the register, right? Yeah, I do have print here, and you have to check if your debug console return anything. But if they didn't return anything, because I tested this at my home, they work fine. You might want to check this IP and the path itself if they can be accessed. Okay, they did. They do. But because I didn't send any data, it will only return email null and password null. So that is if I get this straight away from my browser. But from the application down here, sometimes they have this. Go again, debug console, clear console, save. Let me just put another block, another print here just to make sure that we are doing the job. All right, so it should go to print and registering user with email and wait for this HTTP request. Right, so register, click on this. It doesn't seem to register or even work on this. I don't see this down here. So means that I need to backtrace. I'm not quite sure why it didn't go there. Let me just print here just before doing that. Sometimes it happens, okay? Um, before, all right. So it means that This is before when I press this button here, register button, it should print out this. But if it didn't, I might need to. No, I don't see them. Or maybe I pop before I register. But the one that I use at home, they seems to work just fine. Try that again. No, it didn't even enter this button here, the show dialog button here. Something is missing out. Let me check. It's not empty. The password, everything is okay. Let me just print here. So this is just to backtrack what's going on, because I'm running the previous example on my home PC, but this is on my laptop. So before show dialog, just as a marker for debugging. It doesn't seem to go there. Yeah, something is going on here with the registered dialog. Yeah, I believe the registered dialog will require this. Not sure the reason why. So let me just try that again. What's going on? Is there any debug here? This is my register dialog. Pressing here, and this is the register dialog helper function. I'm going to print out here just to check what is going on with this. Also, I didn't see them running. Let me just restart this. Not sure why. Sometimes it happens. Okay, sometimes things happen. I just push this to my laptop, and it does seems having issue. Is it? Let me just stop this first and rerun again. So this is just to demonstrate, okay, if you're having any issues during the execution, so just backtrack. Okay, backtrack where the problem starts. So the problem, I can see that start when I press the button, nothing happened. Okay, it's supposed to happen, supposed to do something, but it didn't. So you have to go one step further, just backtrack. Okay, one line after another, go back, until you get response from the application, from the codes. They're just weird. Okay, doesn't seems to. Okay, see 1, 2, 3, register. Oh yeah, I can see that and press register. Okay, there you go. Right, things happen. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. So sometimes you might encounter that kind of problems, and either you restart the application or you might need to shut down your EVD and then do it again. So those things happen. Okay. So now the expected output should be the following, which is my JSON data written from the registration. And I would like to try this also on my Chrome, just to check if my web also should be working. Right, so I'm running this on my Chrome, making sure that Chrome also able to run this. Okay, so splash screen, main page, press plus, and let's see if we can communicate with the server using Chrome. ABC, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, so this one I'm going to clear and then submit, register. Before registering, shut down. Okay, so it stopped here. So for web, if you want to run for web, you might need to add one more features for web, which is, if I remember, right? So usually for web, you have to add the following. Let me just open back my hub to enable for web. Which search first. Oh yeah, I need to open my server first because the code is in the server. If I remember, for web, you have to add one more. This is also important for web. For mobile, should be okay. The API should work. But for web, you have to add this. Header access control allow origin. This one. Okay, this is, if I remember, to allow for web services. Right, let me just try that one more time for this. Register, register, and should be fine now. Okay, clear again. For web, register, press the button, you have this. Okay, so you have written written JSON data from server, from PHP, and with added header allow control, access control allow origin, which is telling your server to allow access from all, not just from Flutter, from mobile apps, also allow for web access. Okay, so this is what it means by this header. This is some kind of security for API, which basically will check for the control access. Okay, so very important piece of line of code. And without this, you are unable to access your API. Okay, so add this to your code. The rest should be the same, and finally you should be able to return JSON encode. All right, so I'm going to close this again. Now I'm going to work on my pixel and run this again. Oh, sorry, not this one, but this one. Okay, so next we're going to work with our register.php, but at the moment we don't have our database yet. So we don't have our database, we don't have the backend. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with our database and define, create our database here. All right, so for the database, to create new database using MySQL, So you can go to PHP My Admin, and here this is your MySQL administration page, which is called PHP My Admin. And to create new database here, just go to databases and create database here. So the application name is MyFuWu. I'm going to give it the names DB or MyFuWu. All right, so that is for the database. Or even like it's quite long, just give it like MyFuWu. Straight away, MyFuWu. Create database. Now you can see your database entry in the list of databases, MyFuWu. And at the moment, we don't have any tables yet in the database. So I'm going to create a table for users. So this is table users. And I'm going to create a bit more columns for the table users. Usually you need to design your user first. So let's just grow with that design. Okay, so I'm going to create with this 6 column with table users. And for the table users, always start with user ID. And the table name and table field, column name, that depend. Usually the way that I define my table names and table table field is basically the following. I always start with TBL for tables and underscore. This is the class name. Okay, so for users, so just put users. So which means that all user registration will be in here. And I use the lowercase name. There are sometimes also you can use certain database require for uppercase, but here I use lowercase for all. And for the field name, I started with the class name and the field itself. So for example, like user ID here, I use user underscore ID, so which is user ID. All right. So for user ID, the data type is integer. The value length depend on number of users because this is going to be auto increment. So I'm going to set, let's say like I'm not going to have like more users for this application. So I'm going to stick with only like can go get away with 5 length. For the we put this away for now. And for the AI, this means that auto increment, set this as auto increment, it will automatically increase its value from 1 to the 5 length digit number. And this is as a primary key for user ID. Okay. The second one is user email. So definitely we're going to use this as user login information. So this is going to define as varchar, so depend on the length. So usually I just can get away with varchar. But for the text here, you can see the length for the text and the rest. Is there any other little bit small? But usually I can just use varchar for this or even like text. Okay. But usually I just use varchar. For user email, so definitely you're thinking about like the size of the email, the length of the email is not going to exceed more than 50 character. So just put that as the maximum character length. And the rest is just the same. Okay, this is varchar. And then we have user password. User password. All right, so for user password, depend on your hashing algorithm. So there are multiple hashing algorithm. Bcrypt, you can use SHA-256, SHA-1. There are many hashing algorithm available out there. But for this, I'm going to use just a simple hashing algorithm, which is SHA-1, which is supported by PHP. But definitely PHP also support many other hashing algorithms. Never store your password as a naked password. It means that you store as it is, as a string. When user enter ABC123, you store as ABC123. Never do that. Always hash your password, user password. So you have to know your hashing algorithm. So I'm using SHA1. So for SHA1, usually the hashing algorithm will convert any input that user enter, any password that user enter, into 40 character long. So which means that here I'm going to use a varchar with 40 character long. Okay, so that's basically for password using SHA1. Depend on your hashing algorithm. So certain hashing algorithm will require like 60 character long or maybe longer. Okay, but for SHA1, it used 40 character long. Okay, so I'm going to use user password as 40 character long. And then definitely we're going to use, if later on you want to use OTP, one-time password, so you can just include them into your table. For example, user UTP. You can put it user OTP, one-time password. So usually for a one-time password, you can use either random string or random number generator. So I'm going to use varchar with usually like 6. Okay, don't go beyond that because sometimes make longer or shorter. That depends, right? And then what else do we need? User registration date. Okay, reg date. So for the registration date, we can use a date time here. Date time. It will store date and time data format. And for date time, the size of the length value will always 6. Even though you're going to get like longer date time, but that's how it is. Date time 6. And finally, we can have a user last login. Last login. So that also um, another information that we like to have in your application. So this is also date time 6. But for the user registration date, if you can set it auto for the date time, you can use a current timestamp. So it will use this date as automatic um, registration. For this, I remember on update current timestamp. If no, if you update something, uh, if you update your information, then it will update the current on timestamp. But there's one later lah. It's better to implement this later. The last login. Okay, because this will require checking, and then when user log in, so we need to update. We need to implement update for the date time. So I'm going to add this later, and maybe I'm going to use this for image, user image name. If you want to store image name later, yeah, we can implement that later, right? So how do I delete this? No need, just don't put anything. Okay, so it means that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 informations that I want to save. And finally, just save. And then there you are. You have your first table, right? So you have your first table, user ID, user email, password, OTP, and registration date. Okay, so now we have our database, we have our table, and we want our application here to get email, password, check the password again, and then press register, and then get all the data saved into our database. At the moment, we have no data. Okay, there's nothing here. When you browse for the data, you want the data to be inserted into here. All right, so let's work on that. Okay, so you need to have this dbconnect file within your server directory, and this basically contain your server configuration. So usually we'll start with server name. So we define our server name. So for the server name, so usually for the database, we define as localhost for XAMPP for now. But later on, we have to change along the way when we want to publish our application later on. We have to change certain parameter that available that is in the DB Connect. So one is a server name. The second one is the username. So for XAMPP, it always root unless you change within the PHP config, within the PHP admin config. Okay, always root. For password, always empty. And finally, for the database name, so in our case here is MyFuWu but not the underscore, just MyFuWu. So that is the database configuration. And we're going to use this later on. We're going to revisit this when we want to publish our application. Okay. And then we want to create the connection, the object connection here. So the object connection here is basically will be defined through con, which is the connector, which is this one. So this is a connection using MySQLi library for the MySQL. And we pass all the parameters, server name, username, password, and database name. And this basically will be the one who maintain or will be used every time when we want to connect to the database. Okay. We want to delete, we want to update, we want to insert, we want to search. This is the connector file or the connector object that we're going to use many times. And finally, we want to check the connection. And the connection basically just to test if there's any error with the database connection or not. So to test the database connection, you have your if $connect, which is the object connector, check with the connect error. So the connect error will let you know if there's any problems with the connection. It will call up die. Die is a function to exit and will let you know the debug error, the error from the connection. Right, so that is the most basic connections, database connection file. So this is the bare minimum, right? The bare minimum. So for example, if you want to test this, if you want to make sure your DB Connect is working or not, you can issue a command to test the connection, which is 10.19.16. This is MyFuWu /API /dbconnect.php. So this is just to test. If you enter and it return empty, means that the database connection is working. You don't have any issue with the database connector and they just work. But if you have something or if you have error with your database, for example, like database name, I added something to the database name, which is non-existent. So if you try to connect to the database, you will get the following error, which is thrown by MySQLi. It let us know that, okay, the database is not exist with the following error. So this is just to test if your database connector is working or not. All right, just test this only one time. Just making sure that you have your database connection. Or if you want to make sure that, okay, my database is working or not. So if you have no issue with your DB Connect, and then when you test, no problem with the database, means that you're good to go. Okay? That is very important and only do it once for the file, and we'll come back to this file later if we want to publish our backend to our web hosting. All right, that's it. Okay, that is the only condition that we need. Now we can just close this file. No need to visit the file again. Okay, so once we have our database ready and our connector file ready, now we can work with the register.php. So to work with the register.php, the first thing that you want to do is after the header, always put header in front, the first line. And we're going to start first. This if you want to have further options, okay, you want to allow only post and get if you wanted to, okay, but no need for that. Usually, just to make your API a little bit secure, you might want to have some checking first. For example, that if you want to check if the server response is a post array or not. So this is one way of just to safeguard your API. There are multiple ways. One of these is basically just to check it. These requests only handle post array. If the server request is not equal post array, so we want to have our server to respond that method is not allowed. All right, so this is just to safeguard. So it tells the requester it need post array, not get array. Okay, like for example, if I try to request the register again, you will receive the following error, method not allowed because of this blocking. Okay, it tells us, all right, I cannot do this because you don't have any post array. If you don't have post array, I won't allow you to run this script. So that is one. Another thing that if you want to do, just to further safeguard, just to check if you have post or password. This is also uh, another safeguard. Okay, there are many. If you want to add API key, okay, you need to have your API key, JWT key, or generate server-side key and match with the application key. If the application key and the server key the same, you can proceed. If they are not the same, don't proceed. So there are so many blocking mechanism or safeguard mechanism that you can introduce. This is just some basic of that, right? Just to check first if you have both, then get them. If not, exit. Okay, exit. Right. So once we confirm we have the data, we get the email, and down here definitely not this one just yet. So what we want now is, because we already confirmed our password already with already checked, but always double confirm. So this is sometimes if you want to add double confirmation, you can check password first. You can add one more passing parameter here, because here because we are already sure that both password they are the same. We send out email, we send out password because we already checked the password before this, they are the same. Before this, like this one. Okay, this is a blocking mechanism that we put, making sure that both password and confirmed password, they are the same. They are not going to continue if they are not the same. So actually, we already done that from the UI part. But if you want to do it on the server part, you have to get the another password, the confirmed password. Okay, you have to add that also. But I'm not going to do that. Either if you want to, you can just add that just to double confirm, making sure that you have properly data inserted into your database. Okay. For password, this is basically the example that they use for bcrypt. Bcrypt, I believe they use 60 character long, if I'm not mistaken. Bcrypt Bcrypt will generate how many? Let me just check. bcrypt length, which is 72 bytes. 72 character for bcrypt. If you want to use bcrypt, it's a bit secure, a little bit better than SHA-1, but usually I just use SHA-1. I like using them. Okay, so you have to do some encryption. Not encryption. This is not encryption because encryption, you have a key. But for hashing, they don't have key. They cannot be reversed unless you use a dictionary password. Okay, they cannot be reversed. So I'm going to hash password first. Um, Password, let's say here just password hash equal, but I'm going to use SHA-1. Simple as that. Okay, so password hash SHA-1 password. So which is now the, or maybe hash password. It is just a variable name. So now the database connection, but before we can do any database connection, we have to connect to the database first. Right, so we have our dbconnect, so we can just include dbconnect dbconnect into our script here. So this is just to include the DB connection. So every time you want to do any database operation, always include DB connect, okay, the file that we have in our server. Right, so once we have our DB connect, we can just build our SQL. So usually the SQL that you have here is basically the SQL, just a normal SQL. Usually the one that you have, if you want to have like a better security SQL, you want to maintain your anything that if anyone try to hijack your SQL through your input, you can use something like this. But usually I just use the simple one. Usually you can just go straight to your server here, go to your to your PHP admin, select your table user, select your SQL. You can use insert. So this is the SQL that you want to implement, which is insert into. All right. So insert into. Oh yeah, I forgot one more. I forgot about one more thing. With the database, I'm going to go back to structure. And I'm going to update user email here and implement as a unique email. So this is as our unique email so that we're not going to have any email, same email twice. Okay, so we can only insert once, and the second email will try to insert the same email again. It will collide with the data. This is our secondary key, right? Just to make sure that no one else will use the same email ever again. So I always do that. All right, so now go back to SQL and insert. So all right, so you can use the SQL tab here. And this SQL tab allow you to craft your SQL much easier. So in this case, I want to insert, registration is an insert statement, just select insert. So you can see that you have your SQL here. So to build your insert SQL, all you need to do is just, okay, now you know that your user ID is auto increment. I just remove that. Your password, your user OTP also you need this data, and user rec date is also auto date. So you can just remove that. So it means that now you only have 1, 2, 3, and value of 1, 2, 3. So just remove the third and the fourth and the fifth value for that. All right. So now you have your insert statement. Get them, copy, and then put into your SQL register equal, this is the SQL here. And definitely you can just follow user email. So the first value is dollar user email. Just email only. And the password is hash password. But the second one is supposed to be, the third one is supposed to be OTP. So for OTP here, you can generate. The second one is hash password, and the third one, this one is just the third value, it just automatically add that. So here you need to add your OTP. So means that you need your OTP defined here. OTP is equal, you can use random function. So 6 character, 6 a number, it will generate random from 100,000 to 999,999. Right? So that's basically your OTP, and then you can just insert that into your SQL there. Okay, so now that is basically how easy is this you want to generate your SQL, but definitely you can improve from here. And this is the most basic SQL if you are having trouble with SQL. Okay, so this is the insert statement because you want to insert data, and this is basically how you craft your SQL. So once you have your SQL ready, you can use the SQL statement to start delete the data, to insert the data. So to insert the data, you can use MySQLi query to execute the using the connection, and then use the SQL that we have up there. And if it is success, we just return, or we just JSON return back success. Okay. All right. So this is basically the basic code here, but usually I use a different register. Yes. Output, which is the output that I use usually in the following format. So usually the output that I use instead of usually I use like this. I'm not going to use this. This one is the one that's been suggested. So I'm going to use if dollar connection execute query, dollar connection, the object is that execute query. Okay, so execute, we can just use arrow to execute query, which is the SQL register query. If it is success, true. Okay, so what do you want to do? So this is success. So if success, I want to build a response array, which is array status equal success, and message user, or maybe just something like this. Array success, if true or false, you can use either true or false, or you can put like success tags, either. Okay, you can check on that. And if you want to have like a message or data, you can add that user registered successfully. But else, you can add another response that's saying if something goes wrong, registration failed, if something to do with the database connection error. But if you just want to let user know, it just fail, registration fail. That's it. Usually you don't want to let user know what kind of error, because that led to something, if someone who like to illegally access your system based on the error that they receive, they can get something on that, right? So usually we just let user know, message registration failed. And usually I have a special functions which is the following function for PHP. These are the functions that I use most of the time, which is just to build the JSON response. Okay, just to build the JSON response. So just call this function every time we like to send your JSON response, the message that you have. Okay, this is just a function there down there. So what this function does is that it just define the header of the data as a JSON data, and then we'll echo back or print back JSON encode back to the application, which is a send array that we have here. That's it. Okay. So this is a registration. So we can always test this. We can test this first. Let's see if we can. And we should be able to get a response array print out back either fail or success. Just something like that. Okay, so now let's try that one more time. Going to clear on this and do some registration. ABC 1, 2, 3, ABC 1, 2, 3, and register. And we should be able to see the output at the bottom. Register. All right, so button after. All right, here. Register success. So I'm looking for the register success. So, yeah, here. Success, some equal true, message, and user registered successfully for the message part. So that is for the user registration. And then when you go back to the database, you check for the data, press OK. You can see now we have data. Okay, we have data there. And you have your user ID, you have your email, and this is SHA1 password hashing. This is the OTP, and this is the date automatically registered date. And there you go. Very, very easy to do. So if you want to register again with the same credential, because we already set our email as a secondary, register again, click on that. So you should be greeted with error. That. But since this is a duplicate entry, it says through HTML, so you might want to provide better response because of this error, because this is HTML error. It throws into the following. Okay, it tries to register and it shows error. So means that you have to work on the outside, which is here. Because when it tries to register, it throws error. It basically goes, it's supposed to go here else, but it did not. We need to add try and catch. Okay, so this is just to make sure that we don't have any issues with our codes. Okay, so anything will be automatically catched by the catch exception, and we build another response array if you want to, and then send JSON response back. All right, so this is basically a try block, and this is the block that will check, and if something goes wrong, it goes here. Right, it goes to the response back and tell us that okay, something going on. This was not a success. This is better like if I put status, status, and this is also status for the array. So status, I'm going to put success or fail. And this is a fail. Okay. Right, so let's try that one more time. Clear my console and register. All right, should throw, no, didn't, supposed to throw. supposed to maybe not the get message, just error. Just error. Just error. Not supposed to get this HTML here. I don't want to get that. Right. So register. Yeah. Any? No, still. Oh. Undefined function, send JSON. Oh, yeah. This one. Send JSON response. This is a function. Oh, yeah. Basically close. I'm not quite sure. We automatically close that. All right. Here. Save again. And clear your console and register. All right. There you go. Status fail. Message error. Right, so that's all. But because it basically blocked my JSON response output. Right. Okay, so now you basically just trap your error through exception and making sure that you get proper written. You get proper written as a JSON written, okay, not as something else. You don't want HTML written. HTML written, it shows like HTML page, script, you want JSON. Okay, as an API, you want JSON. Okay, so that is basically basic user registration, which is using a simple insert statement. Okay, insert statement. So definitely you can improve the insert statement here because usually you don't want your insert statement to be like this. Okay, this is easy because easy for you for you to read because the insert statement here, you know the array, you know the data, the field and the data. Okay, clearly you can see the data. But usually, if you want to have a better SQL register, you might need to have, let's say, like I'm going to disable on this. Something not in this structure, but since I already have used this, it will auto use this. I don't want to use this. The other one, it should be this. I believe this tree. Prepared, bind, and once you bind, and then you have to this item here. You have to once you bind them, then you execute and then a bind parameter and execute the statement only. Okay, execute the statement. So yeah, as the M execute. And then STM close, but you have to do something. But I don't like using this method. Reason being is that it is harder for me to debug. Sometimes it happens, it does have issues with the debugging process. It is much more secure because you bind your data, you bind your parameter with a much secured method through string integer. So you have string integer and bind the parameter not directly in the SQL because this the method that I use prone to SQL injection. Okay, they are prone to SQL injection. But this one method better, but it is harder um, to debug. Okay, I would not using them for now. I just use this, much easier. Shorter SQL, they are easier to check, but longer, for example, like if you have later on a join statement, you join multiple tables, that going to get a little bit harder to work with if you don't have it in this format. Okay, that is my observation lah. Yeah. So this one is a simple one, it's basic one. You can a little bit improve in terms of the SQL itself. If you want to check mail, but usually we don't have to check mail if already registered. If you want to check the mail first, because sometimes you want to make sure that, okay, this email already registered, so you can check the mail first. Or you can say that if something goes wrong, okay, you want to show what kind of error, you can do a little bit of digging here using get message. Okay, so which means that if you try to register with the same account, you get something. Okay, you get some kind of error written back. This one. It tells us MyFuWu user doesn't exist. MyFuWu table users. Oh yeah, this is what it uses. Table user. This didn't use the right one. Hold on, let me just go back because the email password, it didn't use the one that I worked with. This one. All right, this one. Okay. So, and then add back the error, which is just to get message of the error, save again, and clear, and try to register again. Okay, there you go. So you get status failed message, error occurred, duplicate entry for key user email. Right. So that means that you have some kind of information telling us that, okay, that account already registered with the application, and what you want to do with information that depend. Right. So that depend. Okay. So if you want to make sure that like this issue will not happen, your user ID here suddenly goes to 7. What happened to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? That is because it tried to execute first, it failed because the email is already there, and it increased the index, the user ID. So to not having that, you have to check for the email first. Check for the email first, and this part here will check for the email. Okay, if the result from the query is more than 0, means that you have the email already registered, and then we exit. Okay, we just exit. All right, so let's try that. So to clear our database, to totally clear your database, you use a truncate. Okay, so use truncate table users and execute, which means that we'll delete everything, no data at all, and we'll start back from 1. So let me try to register an account first. Register again. So should be supposed to have double. Yeah, there you go. So you have your email. And if I try to register the same email again, nope, nothing. And it should show failed email already registered because of this block. Okay, because of this block here, this part here. So if that's the case, I'm going to rearrange back the codes just to make things much easier for us to. All right, so it means that this is check email already exists, insert new user into the list. All right, that's it, just like that. Okay, to make it more proper, just to make it more proper. And then if I try to insert new user, and this is ABC 123 123, ABC 123 123, and register. So it should show success, you registered, and check your database again. You should have number 2 as your user ID, not number 3, not number 4. Because of we block first, we check first for the email. If already registered, don't proceed, exit. Okay, so that's just a blocking mechanism, just making sure tidy up your database. making like everything proper, orderly. I love doing that. I don't want to see database with that kind of like misaligned. Suddenly the ID is just jumping around. So you have to be free neat in this. You're making sure that everything proper, everything, the database look nice, look. Because the thing with database is that if you have good data, if you have good database data, it is later easier for you if you want to run any AI services because AI require clean data. You have clean data, you can just feed the data and the AI will be able to use them easily. But if you have any issue with the data, you need to clean the data first. That is no, this is not good. Okay. All right. So now we have our first register. We have send out proper response. So maybe I can add something to the functions. Send JSON response, something in that sense. Oops. Right? Okay, so now what we want to do next is basically back to our response, back to our application here. So it means that you want to do with the data and you want to respond to the data that is being written back from server. So where you want to do that is basically inside this block here. So I'm going to remove all these because no need for us to use that. So within this block, this is where we want um, to process the JSON data that being written from server, right, from the backend. So to do that, usually the first thing that I do is basically just to check the response code. The response code, just too many, not them, not yet. Right. So if the response code 200 means that is good. We want this 200 response code. So it can be obtained from the response dot status code. So it will check if it is 200 or not. If it is 200, means that the return is a success return. Okay, if it fail or not is something else. So check first, and then we're going to decode our or get our JSON response. So var JSON response, we dump it into response the body. So the data is basically in the response dot body. So that's the data being written back from the server. All the JSON data is in the response dot body. So what you want to do with the response, if you want to print out, sure, you can just print out. But I'm going to decode the data. Okay, so var message the JSON decode. All right, so JSON response body. All right, so this is basically to convert the message or maybe not message. Response array lah. It's better to call it response array. We use JSON decode to decode the JSON data that being written from the JSON response into array. Okay, array. So the array that is the one that we need to check. So for example, if the response array status, string status equals success, okay? If it is equal success, if array equals success, what we want to do here? So for example, we just want to use a simple snack bar to show that, okay, your registration is successful. So we can just use a snack bar to show that. The context always if mounted. if you want to get rid of the context there. So if success, show snack bar. Else, what you want to do is maybe you want to show the message of the snack bar, what's going on. Okay, if it is error. So that is the response that we want from the server. So let's say like we already have the account registered, for example, like this one. So our snack bar, if I try to re-register again, it should show the return email already registered. Okay, email already registered. So that's basically if I want to register them again. All right. It based on the response. If success, let's say, let me try to register some other account, abu@gmail.com. So with different password, let's say at one, and register. So register, it should show registration successful. And from the database view, you have the third account. And as you can see, the hash password here, they are totally different. Even with one character difference, the hash value will be totally different. So that is basically for the hash password, right? Okay, so that is the registration process response. So everything will be inside here. If response code status 200 means that you will do whatever inside here. But if you want to respond, okay, if it is not 200, what you want to do else? The same. If you want to see that, okay, something going on with the system, you can always return back registration fail, please try again. You're not telling what's going on, just tell user, okay, your registration is failed, please try again. Means that you basically, anything is not 200. 200 is a success. Anything that's not 200, get out from there. Okay, just show this, and then if you want to return, just return, but yeah, actually no need for that. Okay, that is just to capture if something else happened. And something else that might happen is the timeout. So for the timeout, you can add on timeout. So the time limit here for the whole HTTP request, you can add on timeout with the duration, how long that you want to set. And if the timeout reach 10 seconds, show a snack bar that request timeout, please try again. This is just if something going on with the server unable to respond on time. We set the timeout like 10 seconds, basically more than enough for the server to respond. Wait for that 10 seconds. And then if everything goes well, it's okay. If not, get out and just from the timeout. That is one thing. Another thing that you might want to add here is a progress bar, which means that during the registration, you want to have a progress doing something in front, and that is something can be added during the registration. Just progress indicator. I'm going to pop up progress dialog. You can do progress dialog. You can pop up them. Is a progress dialog. The dialog. Or do I need to add external progress dialog? Progress dialog during HTTP call. There are a number of library available. Usually, you can just use show dialog actually. Okay, so for show dialog, you can set is loading somewhere up here. Bool is loading equal false. But then you can add before this, which is a show dialog. But this is a little bit longer. You might want to extract them somewhere else. They do have some other library that you can use, but let me try this method that has been used before this set state. You just use set state is loading equal true. And then we can just show dialog. This is just a common show dialog we have before. But definitely we need to set builder for this through the circular progress indicator. And finally, maybe not just center, we can have them in alert show dialog. This show dialog, we have, we can use alert dialog for the builder itself, return alert dialog. It's better to use alert dialog here. With circular progress indicator, all right, so this is just for this. If you don't want to allow for user to dismissible, hold on. Here, is it like that? But it's not sure, but you can dismiss them. But you don't want your here. Barrier dismissible equal false. So you don't want them to be like able to tap outside and then exit. Do the HTTP call. And then finally, if you want to pop up, you can implement your HTTP within HTTP if it is completed based on this, because we didn't exit anywhere, we can set them outside here. No, sorry. Supposed to be outside the HTTP call, will execute everything. We can put it outside, but hold on. This is the block, is the show dialog. Open here is the block for show dialog. And then I want to dismiss the show dialog. So to dismiss the show dialog, it should be inside this, inside here. So we can just, if the is loading is false, okay, we want to pop. Okay, we want to pop out and no longer show the loading dialog. So let's try this. Okay, this is a little bit longer, but this is basically because we didn't exit anywhere here, or else it will be stuck in that registration. So I'm going to try to register different name. Ahmad. All right. So press register. Register. Supposed to have. It's quite quick. It's quite fast. So that's why you don't see them. You might want to implement a timer there if you want to, because we are now direct communication with the server, so the loading can be very, very fast. All right, so dialog close, my pop-up at the bottom down here, maybe I can just pop up dialog straight away. Anywhere else? No. All right. No need for this. And let me try to register another name. John at Gmail, and try to register them. There you go. Registering. out. Okay, that's it. So you can customize your show alert dialog, the show dialog there, the one that we have here. You can customize the alert dialog. There are customization, I believe, if there's any. You have icon there. You have shape, surface tint, shadow color, title and whatnot. So there are customization for alert dialog. But the one that you see before this, that's just a simple show dialog. But there are other dialog available, Flutter dialog, progress dialog widgets that you can definitely use them. But again, try not to use any external library because when you import external library, the size of your application start to increase. You don't want that to happen. Anything that you can still do it yourself, do it yourself. Unless it is no longer able, you need to depend on other library. All right, so now we've completed with our register. So if you want for the register to exit, you can do that. Means that if registration is a success, you can do something here to exit and then go back to your home. And definitely you have to be careful that you need to initiate the closing of the dialogue. Okay, so if you want to do that. But that is something logical, okay, the flow that you have to look into. You need to go here, after that here, and then later here. But if it didn't close the contact, the UI contact, so you have to trace back. You have to go back. Okay, where is this? What's going on? Where this problem started or the UI started? So that is for user registration. So a little bit longer for this topic. I'm planning to have it short, but it takes a lot of words to describe for this function to work. So I hope that makes sense to you. Later next class, we're going to look into shared preference and how to store the shared preference. It should be very fast for this. All right. Go to the top.